I was thinking I need to survive this, if possible, but I'm willing to sacrifice myself to prevent this, the attackers from coming in. They were calling us traitors, even though they were the one committing the treasonous act that day. It was an attempted coup that was happening at the Capitol that day. And if it had been another country, the U.S. would have sent help.
2 years after that powerful testimony, Sergeant Gonell was in the courthouse today for Donald Trump's arraignment. He released a statement earlier that said in part this: "Our democracy is worth fighting for. Not prosecuting is far riskier than having no consequences for the alleged power grab attempts. Justice and the rule of law must win for our democracy to survive." I'd like to welcome former Police Sergeant Aquilino Gonell. He defended the Capitol on January 6th and resigned from the force due to injuries he suffered on that day. He's also the author of the book American Shield, the American Sergeant who defended democracy. Sergeant, thank you so much for being here and staying up this late on a day that had to have been very emotional for you. What was it like to be in that courthouse?
Thanks for having me. It was very emotional in the way of that it was a sad day for our country. It's a solemn moment that it was although it was expected, it needed to be done. We waited for more than 2 years and a half for this moment, in a way, trying to hold those accountable who perpetrated, orchestrated the attack. And with the alleged indictment, the alleged action of the former president is very damning. Most of the witnesses that have been corroborating all these action or inaction on that he did or didn't do has been Republican themselves, people who he surrounded himself with. And as he alleges, he knows all the best people. These are the best people testifying against himself.
When you resigned from the force, you said you needed time to heal mentally and physically. After seeing the wheels of justice slowly but start to move on a day like this, how are you feeling inside?
Mentally, I have healed a lot. It's like 9 days from the time that January 6th happened to now. I have been able to focus on to heal with the health support and help with my family, mental health therapy, physical therapy. Most of my injuries have healed to the best that they can. I still have some limitations. I'm able to do a lot of things with my left arm, to include now doing physical activities, like something that I was thinking that I would never be able to do that again, exercising, which is something that I used to do on a regular basis. Morally, I'm still in distraught. I'm still had those moral injuries because some of the same people who I risked my life and my colleagues continue to defend the indefensible. When you had people, elected officials, especially from the Republican side, downplaying and minimizing or excusing the behavior, the alleged misconduct of the former president. And then they tell us that they support us, the police officers, or the rule of law, or law and order, we back the blue, things like that. And then yet they call those people who assaulted us in full uniform on the January 6th, even with the American flag. And then they come back and turn around, well, these were peaceful. It was a political discourse, or these were the patriot, as if we, the police officers, were the bad guys of that day. And we were. Last time I checked, we were the authority to, we had the authority to be there, not the rioters themselves.
What is your message to those people, those Republicans who downplay January 6th, who will defend Donald Trump no matter what, even after these extraordinary charges against him?
Well, the irony is that they themselves were the target of the bomb. I risk my life trying to prevent them harm, and I pay with my body. I pay with my I put my life on the line, and I nearly did lose my life almost to vocation. To those people who continue to defend the former president and his alleged actions on January 6th, I asked them, will they be okay with Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris doing the same thing on January 2025? Will they be okay with the incumbent president right now try to stay in power? I think that they wouldn't agree with that. I think they will try to impeach me. I think they will try to get a Justice Department to hold them accountable, and so do I. My understanding, growing up, being here for more than 30 years, and risking my life defending this country, both overseas and here on January 6th, is that no one in this country is above the law. And today we were witness to the beginning and hoping that the former president also get his day in court. And today it was a good start.
Well, I'm glad you got to be there, and I appreciate you joining us tonight, Sergeant. Thank you.